You were brought up in Hertfordshire, a predominantly a middle class white area. Did you experience any racism around that sort of age?
Yeah, I think I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure everybody remembers the first time where they're affected by it. And I was either in year 5 or year 6.
Yeah.
And I think we were playing spot, like where you kick the ball against the wall.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like you only get one kick and then you're in a line basically. And they picked like 10 people and then I wasn't picked. I was like, why didn't you pick me? And the guy just goes, because you're brown. And I almost didn't know what to think. I remember like I was upset, but I didn't know why I was upset. That's what I remember. And looking back, I understand now why. It's because you've been segregated, discriminated for something that's got nothing to do with you. It's not your fault. It's nothing that you can control. And it's actually because of someone else's problem and their issue with society or whatever. But I remember that first time, and the person that said it, I don't really think that he understood either. Because as I said, we were probably like year 5 or year 6, so that's what, even between 9 and 11.
Yeah, he probably heard it from someone else.
Yeah.
And then he's made that representation about you now.
Yeah. And I think genuinely at that age, you don't really understand those complex sort of social sort of things. So I don't hold any resentment to him in that respect. But at the same time, like that's a young time. That's a young age to kind of like be presented with it.
But did it get worse when you got into sort of the bigger schools in year 7, year 8, year 9, year 10? Did you find that it was more occurrence? People are a little bit more, you know how kids are.
Yeah,
they want to do it. Did you find it a little bit more out there?
Yeah, my high school, my secondary school was really unique. It was an international school. So
okay. So is that from year 7 to 11? Is that your high school? Yeah.
Yeah. So I stayed did sixth form there as well. So like until year 13. Is that year 13? That's the last one.
No, I think first year college, second year college, we called it.
Oh, right, okay, yeah. Yeah, so we had a school where it was a normal, like just normal state school, but you could board. Like there was a boarding school there attached to it. It's a very academic school. My brother was very, very academic, and back then, like you could get into the same school as your sibling. So he kind of got in, and then in my year, I got in as well. But there was like, Spanish kids that went there. There was there's a lot of German kids, a lot of like Oriental, Chinese. There was.
It's quite a mixed school.
It was a mixed school, yeah. But I definitely found that, those things that I experienced before in primary school, they were just a daily occurrence. And I think I don't hold it too much resentment because this is what kids are like. I've worked with kids for past 7 years.
Yeah.
And it is kids, they just see something. And if they see a point of weakness, then they're going to go for it. And you fit into quite a few different minorities I fitted into quite a few minorities when I was in school. I was obviously, as I mentioned before, I'm South Asian. I was overweight. I didn't really have that many friends, so I was an easy target there. And I started to become a little bit more introverted. So again, it's sort of like more easy to like say something and then not expect anything back. And being of South Asia, like we're not many of us are from money. So then school, like non-uniform days and stuff like that. You weren't coming in like Air Force Ones and Nike kind of like tracksuits. You were coming in like some fake Adidas kind of stuff.
I used to borrow my uncle's clothes.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So like those things as well, like it's clout. It's like very superficial, but those things again, like all these things contribute. And you struggle. I remember like I think it was in year 7, being chased through the school by about 5 kids, and they just beat on me.
Really?
And
what year was this? Sorry, what year 6?
Year 7.
Year 7.
Yeah.
And how old were the kids?
They were in my year.
Oh, they're in your year.
Yeah. And I actually went on in year 8. I went on a school trip. This is an international school. We used to go on a lot of school trips to see different places in Europe, in Asia, and stuff like that. I went to Romania, and on this trip in Romania, there was these 2 kids, and they were both boarders. Boarding is obviously really expensive, so you have the option to board, but you've got to pay like $3,000 a year extra to board there. 2 kids, and they just obviously saw me as a prime sort of like victim.
Yeah.
And they just went in. I was there for like 2 weeks, and it was probably the worst trip I ever had, and incredibly racist.
Romania the country, or
Romania the country, but there was 2 kids that came from my school.
That did it more. Sorry, yeah.
So one of them was actually a year younger than me, and then the other one was 2 years older than me, and they would say stuff, and like, you know, if you said anything back to them, you'd be expecting to get a black eye, or to literally get the, I don't want to swear, but the F like kicked out of you.
Wow.
And that didn't just last for that 2 weeks. That was, you know, when you get back to school. I remember going through the corridor, and the one that's 2 years older than me had a girlfriend who was Asian anyway. And I remember him calling me a Paki. And then I said like F off to him, and the guy turned around and ran after me, and his girlfriend was just like, oh, leave him alone, kind of thing. And he kicked the shit out of me, basically.
Wow.
And
did the teachers not do anything or say anything?
This one time this one kid, and he is sort of my friend, but at the same time, he was sort of like pushing that boundary. He said something. He actually said very similar thing to what I experienced when I was in primary school. He's like, because you're brown. And she heard. And then she was like, I think she sort of questioned, what did you say to him? Didn't really he sort of said like, oh, it was a joke, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And then later on that day, like I got pulled out of class, and I had to go down to like the canteen. And in the canteen, there's all these people the people that I used to play football with every single day.
Yeah.
And about 8, 10 of them there. And then the head of our year, and he was like, these things have been said, overheard, and I know that you guys hang out together. And there's me on one side, and then there's all of these people that, you know, I've worked so hard to be included into this sort of social group.
Yeah.
And he basically, and he kind of just associated these people with that kind of rhetoric, those kind of things. And he's just sort of basically he asked me to say whether they were being racist towards me, and felt very reluctant to say no, they weren't, it was just a joke. And I do think it was in a way like a joke, but at the same time, like, you should never, like, looking back now, there's no joking around about it, even if it is just funny, like your mates and stuff like that. It's almost like you never want to give anybody the right to kind of segregate you like that, and to make you feel so alone.